all right, something's not working. Because it's not giving yourself the grace of trying to trade and finding yourself in a losing position, right? Where you have to be more disciplined and not give yourself grace and show no mercy is if you keep fighting against that. That's the difference. Fighting against the markets is not conducive right now. It's not giving us that consistency. I don't care what type of hype you're hearing in the chat room. I don't care what type of activity you're seeing in here. There's a reason why people have started to remove themselves from the room and gotten quiet, right? There's a reason, and so there's two worlds to that. Reason where inexperienced traders, they've lost everything, or they're bag holding, or they're not giving you the full story, or the successful trader, the mentors, whatever, it's just not the right markets. And I used to get confused about that. I'm like, man, like I see things moving or in the trading, and like, why is it that they're not trading this stuff? It's because when you've done it enough or seen it in such a way, it really gives you perspective on everything isn't for everybody. And I'll let you guys in on a little secret of the world of Tim when it comes to these things. He's running, the chat room, and for the most part, a lot of you guys are pay or what you think you're paying for is him to give you activity and alerts. Now he'll stand on 10 toes and remove himself and make sure like he's never disrespected or doing certain things to undervalue or to undermine the integrity of the chat room. But there's a lot of different aspects to Tim in which he's trading for the long term people, for swing trading, for different types of movements or whatever. And all I equate that to is he has a vast amount of knowledge that can be leveraged on a lot of different ways outside of the alerts. And so when he's trading, that's why I say it's better to ask yourself the question of why. It really will serve you well if you just watch it and pay attention because some of this stuff he's losing on as well, or is not going at like a typical Tim trade. But again, he understands a lot of the people that he's dealing with and what they assume should be of what it is. And he can show you how to squeeze a dollar, make certain things, but it's not going to always just be there. And so, my job and my goal for you is to get you to a level of where if you're taking a minimal loss relative to your account or whatever it is, when it's time to go again, you're making that back tenfold because that's how you're going to grow your account. The smaller losses, and then all of a sudden they jump. Like I told you, I have all the confidence in the world that when the right trade comes, that $2,200 loss is evaporated in one trade. Do you have that same confidence for wherever you are with your account? To where if you took a $200 loss, in the last 3 weeks, or you're down $8,000 in the last 3 weeks, do you believe in one trade that you can get that back or close to it if you see the right trade? That's a question you have to answer for yourself. 11 o'clock now, so normally stocks are going to tend to reverse. If they've been holding certain levels with pressure, probably going to go down or up. Stocks start to lose volume because of the time of the day, midday. LPTX coming down. Ideally, it comes back into the 80s. Where I see this was like a strong support area here off of this bounce. So it's giving me some history, see if it has held up, multiple days. It's ran in the past, not a lot of volume. It's definitely not a lot of volume. Yeah, 7 million there. Yeah, you're just getting a run to the world. These are the stocks, like to give you an idea, an example, like these are the stocks that when everything's working, like you don't even see this. Like these things are doing this at this time. At the same time as the bigger, like the better runners are going, whether short or long, and like you don't even pay attention to this stuff. But like this has become like the A list. or pseudo A list, right? 23 million. So we'll see. I mean, what you have to take into account, and this is where's it at? There it is. There's my ugly friend. So this could potentially get up to 214, but hey, never know. Definitely has a lot of gap to fill. 314 million. I don't know what the price action is. I don't know how well the price action is found. I'm just looking at the level two off of it's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if it can get, like I said, we're getting to 4 million, 5 million during this slower period of the day, then yeah, I would be interested in continuing watching this as a trade, potential trade. Let's see. Let's get this one more time. Doing a full round trip. Full round trip. We're damn near 20 cents away from a round trip. Starting at open at 98 cents, back at $1.18. So yep, there's that. Uh I entered LPTX at 90 cents, reclaim at 7, being SSR, and added 50% more at $1. Signal resistance up to $2. I exited at 99 cents. Saving these later big round spots on this. Oh, I mean, I'm confused. You say you're seeing no resistance to $2, but you exited. So, I mean, $1 off of where you're thinking it could go. So, if I'm looking at this, you entered at 90 cents. So, I mean, you say 7 a.m. Oh, 10 a.m. Okay. So 10 a.m. So right in here somewhere, you're entering at 90 cents. So I mean, you're entering on a spike still. If anything, I would try to enter more through here on this pullback. Like if it gives you this red candle and then it holds, I like it. Like so, like where I see like the top of this candle, the wick. So we kind of give you more of a mindset of like how I enter. So like I see the body of this candle and the height of it is at 80 cents. When I see the body of this candle get broken by this candle and then by this previous bull candle here of green, I'm trying to get in. So I would be like at 82, 83-ish, right? And then it's fighting into that resistance because now I'm using this as a support from here. And like I said, it works well within that 80 cents that I'm normally focusing on. And then go from there. Now it comes back down here. I don't know, how well you traded it, but it's a good job of holding on because you're within the 10-cent risk. It breaks 80 cents. It's like they're trying to take out weekends here of the move, take out stop losses, but the volume should give you a good indicator of like, hey, this can continue to go, and it's like good time, not the timing, but it's a good time of day. Still at 10:15, and then boom, you get the move, right? And then you go here. I would have gave it an opportunity to break through where it did, and then here and a bounce, and then the 106 are like kind of same thing to where when this, so like when this candle starts, If it breaks through this candle here and with the dollar, then I'm out. So I mean, it's a pretty good trade, you know, just where you enter that, maybe not so much, but like that area, man, I just don't understand why you're mentioning a $2 resistance, like resistance at $2 when like the whole movement in itself is like a resistance because of that gap, that big gap. Like, yeah, not I mean, not a bad trade. Ideally, this is what you're looking for. Uh, if you could, P. Wallace says, if you could talk to yourself in your early career and past markets like today's, if there's something you would tell yourself to focus on, a mistake you would let yourself make to learn and walk away and study daily charts at the end of the day. Yeah, it's exactly. If I could go back in my past, that's I mean that's why I'm doing it now. Like if you see how I was trading early in my career, which my career isn't really even long, man. That's the crazy part about it. Like that those first couple of years, it's just like it's so much learning and just outlasting to where 2019, I don't know, man. I don't even know how to put it into words. And I think we take it out of context because we see or we the perspective of so many, I guess, successful traders or like the rise of success, but like it's so out of context because you're not them, their life, the journey that they've been on, what they have, their bank accounts, who's depending on them, who's not depending on them, their responsibilities personally. It's just so many other things that we're not factoring in. But like for me specifically, I would just tell myself like this is what you need to be doing. Like, are you taking one or two trades? Okay, cool. But like you be very, very careful with that, Ellis. You're not gonna get a lot, you're not gonna get a lot completed or done in this. Yeah, I know you're down right now, but you've been here before and this can be made up very easily. But what can't be made up and what can be more difficult if you put yourself in a $5,000 hole, you put yourself in an 8, 10, hell, $12,000 hole, some months that I've had. And that's frustrating because now I'm thinking about a lot of different things. What I could do with that money, where I could have been putting that, just the frustration of it all. And like for me, it's not necessarily studying, it's just getting back to seeing what you see, but seeing it very clearly at the right time of day. So yeah, I would be telling myself that stuff all the time. And thank goodness that I'm doing it now. And this is with losses, guys. Like I say, the losses are not really, it's irrelevant, in my perspective or where I'm at, because that's nothing. And I don't say that with the arrogance. I say that with a sense of confidence and a belief of like the right trades will make their way around. You just simply have to be patient. For how long, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Eric, you did the right thing, like dropping below $1. So, I mean, like I said, it's a decent trade. Are we going for 10 cents? No, but I think a lot of that could have been also cured with the entry that you're agreeing with as well. So, yep. Any thoughts on Perry today, given the relative volume and look overhead? I don't know, Gary. I mean, you trade everything breathing, brother. So, let's see. Yeah, not my cup of tea. It's too high priced. This is something I was talking about earlier. I don't look forward to these stocks. Um, they don't really move with the same presence as, small caps that are $5 and below. The 10 cent, I know 10 cents on the sub dollars and like, in that realm of dollars, I would say $5, or excuse me, $4, $3. That's what I'm looking for. I don't really see any advantage to this. Again, the movements are different. I mean, if you don't believe me, guys, like watch. I mean, just when you see, so when you see a stock moving under $1, you guys, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like, have you noticed like how hard it is for a stock to go from here, like say at 75 cents, and then it gets up to like 89 cents, right? So that's like 14 cents. But then when it gets over $1, it can start to move pretty quickly. And like they're like some of these have bigger floats or whatever, but just pay attention to that, because as it gets higher priced, different forms of money start to enter the equation. Bigger positions, um, different forms of institutional money, just all kind of things, right? The options, if that's available, and so all this stuff moves the stock differently. But when it starts to get into the tens and the twenties, the hundreds, like watch how different they move. Even when you start to get up into the tiers of like the Teslas that I haven't looked at all that stuff. The like 400s, right? It moves in dollars. And like, so when you're talking about trying to trade a pattern or the seven-step framework, there has to be a tremendous amount of volume and volatility to get it in line with the framework. And that's the point of the framework to where that volatility and volume matters. Can this be traded still for what it's doing? Absolutely. But there's a whole different format and process to that. And I'm going off on a tangent here, kind of, but I'm bringing it back to period where when you start to trade up here, there's little nuances, there's variances, there's certain things that you have to do. Everybody, for the most part, is starting at a base level with a foundation, and I'm just trying to keep it consistent with the information in the course. That's where I think again the value add is for me of relying on that seven-step framework. So if I take this and go to the daily chart and be that I've done this for so long. When I see this, I know this isn't for me because it's like consistent volume. So like someone sees this and like, yeah, look at that volume, it's active, but like this day it only had, you know, 650,000. This day here, it had only 340,000. Even today, it only has 1.2 million. The stock is trading at $10. 1.2 million isn't even going to move a stock that's at $1. So the fact that it's moving this stock at $10, there's no sort of pattern behavior that I can identify with that. It's probably choppy. It's gapped out. The spreads. It's probably like a quick drops here and there. Like there's so much inconsistency with that. So yeah, I wouldn't even be paying attention to this on top of now looking at the rest of the daily chart. I mean, look what that's running into. Look at this and look what it's running into. A double top from a bounce, like huge amounts of back like here. I'm 1.2 million volume. Like, can it get through this? Yes. Is it predictable to get through this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What else is active? Well, I mean, it's midday. Let's go back to LPTX. So LPTX is holding. It's holding that level, those levels. Yeah, we make it up. Excuse me. So this is something like I'm trying to look at this during the latter part of the day. So what I won't want to see, just to give you guys an idea of what I would focus on, and again, keeping the context of the markets, I want to like give this exhaustion and let it prove itself. I don't want it to be a situation like at LNAI where I give all this time here. So like last week I traded this last Thursday into this. We ran right up into this. And I actually caught the dip by here. I think because of the volume and like how well this was trending. and it broke right on my dip buy. And I dip bought it all the way down to 2,000 shares, and I'm taking like I think $700 loss, $600 loss. I think it totaled out to be like $1,700 after a while. I'm just dip buying and trying to do this. Like this is not idea. And like thinking that this is gonna eventually bounce, but it didn't. And this is the bulk of my losses right here. I'll cover them up. And so this can be corrected very easily. That's why I say like I know exactly what it is. Like in the day it's 225, but there was no real consolidation. I was more depending upon the volume and it didn't hold, but it came back. I actually was break even on this, believe it or not, and let it go back down off this double top and then into the afternoon and then some other pathetic trading that I was doing. But on this stock specifically. But yeah, I don't want to be in that situation. So remembering that, I take that to LPTX. Now I go to like, okay, let me see where this stock is. Do you see the pattern? Do you see like similarity in that? Bigger volume, still trading up. I'm not making that mistake again, right? To where if it gets to 2 p.m. and if it's still doing something like this on a move, I'm not trading it. I'm looking for more of consolidation and starting to build versus this trend here, right? Because this can just fall apart at any moment. Like there's no support to this, no true support. Like I want to see a bridge of consolidation, not this. So I'll just let this do its thing and then trade it on a lower. But that's called the involvement, right? So you guys use my words. Take my words into account on what I'm saying. I'm going to be focusing on LPTX. And I'm looking to trade this on consolidation, or if it comes back down to these levels, that be it after hours or like during the day or like at the right time of day into the afternoon. But I am not trading it up here without those indicators. So based off of that, let's get some questions on LPTX because that's pretty much all I see in the market. I don't see much else like QLTO or whatever else that was. Like I don't see it. DVLT, that's been off my equation for a while. There's nothing that I see with that. It's exhausted. DVLT, like it should have held its gains much better than this. If it was going to continually, oh, these are just a bunch of bounce fails. I mean, it's under so much resistance. Can the dead cat bounce? Yeah, but ideally this thing should have held up here in the 270s and consolidated and then tried to break out again. But this is not it. There's nothing here. I mean, the volume is so minimal and the market cap is so big on this that you know, back here you're trading this, on half a billion shares. Here on these bounces and the continuation, it's still in the 100 millions. It's now at 16 under all of this. So there's nothing there. MSGM was watching for first green day, but with the very low volume and market conditions, I passed on an entry in the bear market. Was you watching this pre-market with the same low volume in it? Wasn't, and I can tell you why. So like I wouldn't see this as like a first green day regardless, because prior to this, right? Because there was no hold of gains. It closed, but it failed to hold more strongly. Then it had a red day, and it bounced and fell. This right here would have really had me disinterested. Like it's trying to bounce, and then it fails here, and then only to do this. And we're still early in the day. This could still come back down. If I look at this so this is 1.45. Like there's no way in the world. So I'm just taking a guess here, P. Wally, but that volume probably in the pre-market was probably somewhere in the 10,000 ranges, meaning like 40,000 or something like that. It would have had to be like at least 400,000 just to give me an indication like, okay, volume's coming in, this may potentially bounce for like a green day, right? But this here, even with it bouncing, and that's what I mean by all money isn't good money, all profits isn't the right profits. Every trade that goes higher, I mean, excuse me, every stock that goes up doesn't mean that it had a good trade. I don't really see anything in this. I don't know, because again, seeing the results is one thing, but then asking yourself, okay, how would I have gotten there? Like, how would I have entered this stock? Do this exercise for yourself. Like, how would I have entered this stock and been able to successfully make gains? Am I getting in right at 9:30? That, but if you get in at 9:30, like why? Why are you getting in at 9:30? And it can't simply be because it's going up. Like all those indicators that I gave you, there has to be some boxes being checked off. If I get into it now it's like run away from me by 350. This is the close as well. So we're well above that. At the worst, we're trying to take it maybe somewhere in here, perhaps close to VWAP. It is very best. Maybe it comes back and tests this gap area here of 350s. Now we're at a 10-cent wick potentially. Of it failing near the close. But how do you enter a stock like this on such low volume, even with this consolidation and that history of recent? Like, what justifies that? Like, did I explain that okay? I know you stayed away from it, but I'm kind of filling in those gaps of questions for you. So QH, runner potential dip buy. That's what site said, QH. I mean, it's small on my chart. What it is? So it's $1.3132, and there's 12 million in volume. No, I mean, it's not for me. So think about that, guy. Like, this is my mentor, our mentor talking, and like I have the confidence to say, no, that's not my trade. That's not what I'm looking at. Can you confidently say that as well without having the urge to trade this? Like, I have no urge to trade that based on what I saw and doing right now. I see the higher lows. I get it. I see, how it's holding, but I also see these wicks, which, indicates like it's pushing down hard on both areas. So likely needs more consolidation, but definitely needs more volume. Was this Quahu? Sounds Chinese, like a China stock. I would need more than this to feel comfortable. And looky here, LPTX, what did we get? Failure, 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 failure. It's a real thing, guys. Thank you. My gut told me not to trade. Your explanation makes it much clearer. I overlooked some clear indicators that I would note down. Yeah, P. Wally, I know. I want to give a big shout out to P. Wally because I've watched and paid attention to some of his conversations within the chat and how his involvement is happening. If this is a guy, you're doing a phenomenal job, man, of grasping and applying information for everything that you're talking about. It's one of those things to where it's going to serve you well. And that's why I wanted to talk through it in the way that I did, because based off your conversation or your question, it seemed like that's what you were missing. That's the part that you were missing. I'm like, I know, like you said, your gut's telling you it's not it, but why is it doing that? So I filled in that gap for you. So notate that and keep doing what you're doing, man. But good job. And normally, guys, we're giving shout outs to like people that are making money, which again, that's the end game and results. But let's give a shout out to Pete Wally, man, just for being like you've been a great student, a phenomenal student with this information. Like I said, I'm paying attention whether you guys believe it or not or see me or not. But it's one of those things to where it will serve you well down the line. So great job, man. You see, Oliver, how far did you look back on LPTX history? Like 2 years ago? It has resistance. Can that be why it's struggling at 130? Can it also be because it's grown a lot in a short amount of time? No. So I'm looking at LPTX. When I go to the daily and I go out, it's right there. Like this is January 25, Monday 27 to be exact, where you stood at. And so like that, this is why. So I typically stay within a year. There's no need to go 2 years out because I mean, for my trading for what we're doing, it's irrelevant per se. But no, I didn't go out far at all. This is what it is. That's why it's so important that that volume keep pumping or increasing because if it doesn't, it's not even gonna have a chance to get up here. Now, again, it gives me more indication of what I'm looking for. I wouldn't even try to get by this in the ones right here. I'd rather see it be claimed the 120s because that was where it was struggling at, is near the highs, and then consolidate during this lunch period. And then now, if it does dip down to the 180s, I would be extra cautious because now it's a lot of selling pressure on this thing. So I don't know where it's potentially going, but that's the point of like just letting it breathe and wait. I'm pretty sure as I was talking, somebody was like, "You don't know what you're talking about. This is not going to happen. It's clear as day." Or Xbot sexy man 25, and in the other chat room told us differently. And yeah, here we are. So let's add numbness to the list why you have to be very careful with this stuff. And it's not to say that you're gonna not lose. It's not to say that you won't lose even with it trading the right way or what we needed to be doing in the context of what I'm talking about. It just gives you a better leverage point of conviction of saying, okay, if I see these things, I will trade it. If something goes wrong with that, that's why I need to cut the trim. And I love the fact that you guys are supporting that, and thank you for doing that for P Wally. This is what you should be like. This is where you should be trying to evolve yourself. Like I get the money piece, like it's such a focus, right? And like it's like because I've been there. Like man, I want sites to say my name or give me a shout out or put me on Twitter and this and that. We all have those type of expression emotions because again, we're competing and we're trying to do something, right? But this is a substance. Like that money, I would dare I say, for many people have gotten cheered on by sites. I haven't seen as many consistently still there, right? You have that one that breaks through and then they keep going and going and millionaire or whatever, right? But like to see it on this level and grow that knowledge the right way, and then to see it happen in real time where I made a decision predicated off of information that's been taught to me or that I'm learning, it reinforces a lot of good habits and keeps you away from the bad ones or minimizes those losses. I think that's the better word because we still have that human nature. We're going to take trades, right? We minimize the losses. And when you minimize the loss, well, I think where the cap is on that or the icing on the cake is I know why that happened or how I took that loss. All right, let me just get back and apply the information again, right? Versus I'm bad. All right, and this is I saw this yesterday, and I won't call these people out for who they are or this person. Someone in here has been talking about the gains that they've had continuously or like so for some time, and then all of a sudden you're cheering that on, and they're getting what they want, and then they I've seen a recent like they've been bag holding a lot of stocks, thousands of dollars worth of stocks. And so, did you really make money? Or or are you really doing what you're supposed to be doing? Or are you really applying the information? Or are you looking for that public approval, right? We got to get out of this world of just looking for the public eye approval and getting to the substance of why we really paid to be in here. We're here to be self-sufficient and learn and be able to be an alchemist at the right time and right place without the challenge, without Tim, without Ellis Hobbs III, right? Like that's what I'm focused on. Whether and this is no disrespect to you guys, no face to it. Whether I'm in here or not, am I still being productive with trading? Like that's why you can see a lot of successful students who kind of like distance themselves and just kind of go off for the most part. And like you're like, oh, okay, I thought you know, fell off. It's like, no, they're self-sufficient. CMCT, I'm gonna make a call here at $8, potential spike to 15. QH down to 117. Yep, just nothing holding, guys. Be careful. Be careful. Be careful what you're trading to. Be careful who you're listening to. Be careful. Yeah, I hope no one's following you. I don't even care if this goes to 20. I just hope no one's following you. Hurts, don't waste your breath. All right, guys, any more questions? We're at 11:38. I mean, we completed a full hour, but it's not about that. It's just there's nothing really else to talk about, and I don't want to get annoyed. I'm already annoyed. I don't want to get more annoyed. Any other question, guys? Archangel's Landing. What are the best scanners? So you have stocks to trade if you do trade off that platform. The Lion. Let me check this really quick. Something happened with this yesterday. Actually, just doing my same process. Yeah, it was weird yesterday. They were like forcing you to sign up or do something. And this is the last thing I'll say. So yeah, the Lion, excuse me, Market Chameleon. These are some of the free services. The Market Chameleon, this is a good pre-market one. Um, Finviz, like this here, I mean, collectively out of all these three is how I made $100,000. How I still make money. Uh, I don't, yeah, I just don't get too heavy, keep it simple. And I'm looking for the upper stand gainers and within those
transgender, hermaphrodite business type where they aren't really sure what their business is, what they want to do with it. They're trying to do one thing, then they're trying to do another thing. They don't know what type of business to start, and they're trying to do two different things at once, which results in some very awkward situations, similar to a dude taking a shit in the girl's room. Is it legal? Yes, in some states. Is it a good experience for anyone involved? No, not really. It just leads to a lot of confusion, which I am here to clear up today. Because, like I said, if you want to make a lot of money, whether you are a beginner or a person that's experienced in business, you need to be building one of these two different businesses, and they should not intersect with each other. They should not cross, or you are in for a bad time. And I'm going to clear that up in this video. In fact, I'm going to trick you. I'm going to manipulate you. Prepare yourself. Clean your mental rectum, because I'm about to butt fuck your mind. See, I hate making YouTube content. I really don't enjoy it. There's a reason why the effort I'm willing to put into these videos tops out at me flipping on this webcam and talking at this desk. I will not do the high effort stuff you see all over YouTube. You see, I'm in Gagoozle out there filming himself in cars. You see all these young gun influencers filming themselves, doing days in a life, meeting celebrities, doing podcasts, doing these interviews, going out there making these crazy content of them traveling on the road. I will not fucking do that. I will not leave my house. More so, I will not leave this fucking room when it comes to making content. This is the peak because I fucking hate it. And you want to know why? It's because over my career, I built a net worth of over $200 million, building SaaS and tech companies, doing some pretty advanced business stuff. I like the high level stuff like building cultures, building brands, building new tech. That excites me. And you know what? No one wants to fucking do that. No one wants to fucking talk about that. If I make a video on how to build a 9-figure SaaS company step by step by perfecting your customer onboarding, lowering churn, increasing your MRR, building a good team culture, no one fucking watches it because you guys suck. But if I make a fucking video on the 3 coolest ways to get rich fast by flipping copy and paste AI agents to businesses, or how to get rich in a year without talent and without investing money, man, you motherfuckers climb all over. You were just fucking at like a monkey on football. So in order to talk about things that I really want to talk about, I have to make these little coloring book-like videos that trick you into learning advanced high-level business lessons, which I'm going to trick you into learning today. What I'm going to teach you today, yes, will actually help you make money quick, very quickly, actually, because your business is going to be 10 times more efficient because you're building the right fucking business if you're a beginner, or this is going to take your business to the next level because you stop doing beginner shit in your advanced businesses. And while you're going to learn, it's going to make you money light and fast, very sexy, very kinky, kind of quick money coming in. You're going to love it. Real hero in my garage kind of shit. But what this is actually going to do is impart a business lesson on you that if you get in the business and actually stick to it, which like 1 out of 5,000 people watching this channel will actually do, it is going to make you so much more money throughout your lifetime and clear up so much confusion. So let's begin. No more jokes, no more diddling around. I won't even talk about you anymore. We're just going to get straight to the quality content here. So what are these 2 businesses that you need to build? Now look, we're going to hop over to the whiteboard. I'm going to draw terrible drawings that are terribly unexistent with this video. They're not helpful, but they help me out. We'll be over there in a second. But I need to tell you what these 2 businesses are. So you're probably thinking, okay, well, what type of business model is it? Like opening a Shopify store or flipping AI agents to dentists? No, it's nothing fucking like that. It's 2 different types of businesses and business focuses. See, the reason why people are really bad at building businesses at first, at high levels and even at low levels, is they don't know what the fuck they're trying to do. Are they trying to make money? Are they trying to make billions of dollars? Are they trying to build the next big tech SaaS company? Are they trying to build a long-term business? Are they trying to build a short-term business? They don't really fucking know. They just want to make money. And making money is a really weird thing because the best ways to make money is sometimes not making money. It's not pursuing making money. It's just pursuing different things I'm going to cover in this video. But sometimes the best way to make money is not pursuing long-term things. It's being very short-term, and it's being very short-term cash flow focused. It depends on what your goals are and what you want to do and what stage of business you are and how long you're willing to wait and the type of life that you're wanting to have. Now, trust me, we're going to get very defined here. I'm going to define exactly what you need to be doing. But what I'm trying to say here is you need to be either focusing on building straight up motherfucking cash flow businesses, or you need to be straight up building long-term brands focused on customer retention. You shouldn't really be doing both of them. It's like over here you have a cow, over here you have a monkey. If you make the monkey the cow, you're going to end up with terrible results. The monkeys need to stick with the monkeys. The cows need to stick with the cows. They don't need to be intermingling. The second they do, everything gets really, really weird. So let me explain. As I pull up our low quality, low effort whiteboard of truth and justice, yes, like I said before, we're sticking to that low effort, no effects, straight up used condom, tampon levels of content. That's what you guys came for. That's what I'm going to deliver. You're going to need to take a shower after this. So what are these 2 different types of business models? Now, bear with me. You're going to have to give me 10 minutes here. If you want to go on making lots of money, enough to pay for your entire life, you want to make so much money that your friends go, wow, he's really rich. You're gonna have to let me elaborate here. You're gonna have to put everything away not click on the Taylor Swift video, not be on Twitter for 5 minutes. If you can do that, maybe you have a future. If you can't, you're going to be a fucking failure anyway. So you might as well leave and go watch whatever fucking thing you're going to watch on YouTube anyways. So look, what do I mean when people are confused about the type of business they want to build? Because that's what I get asked all the time. It's always, what business do I build? Or should I go and do this next thing with my business? How do I get to the next level? And so you have to understand that there is cash flow businesses, which in short are going to be short-term focused businesses where your goal is to make money now to pay for your shit or pay for your lifestyle, whatever you want to do. But these businesses have severe cons. Now, on the other side, there is long-term brands focused on customer retention. I'm just going to put CR right here. I'm not writing all that out for you. Now, these are also businesses, which in short are going to be short-term focused businesses where your goal is to make money now to pay for your shit or pay for your lifestyle, whatever you want to do. But these businesses have severe cons. Now, on the other side, there is long-term brands focused on customer retention. I'm just going to CR right here. I'm not writing all that out for you. Now, these are also extremely good, but the focus on these is building something that grows over time and grows in value as an asset, and over time consistently grows whether you are there or not eventually, and can last decades and scales to very high levels. But these type of businesses also have massive cons that are the flip side of these businesses right here. And the problem is people try to build a business that's a little bit of this, and they try to build a little bit of this right here, or they try to turn, even worse, one of these motherfuckers into one of these, and it doesn't work. And so they get stuck at these various levels, or they end up getting wrecked early on because they're trying to build these two things at the same time instead of understanding what they're trying to do. So when people ask me what type of business should I build, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what are you trying to do in your life right now? What are your actual goals? What are you trying to do? What's the point of this business? So let me give you an example. So I'm on a stream the other day answering customer questions, and I have this guy with an agency that's making $100,000 a month at like a 60-70% profit margin. And so he asked me like, hey, Alex, so I have this business with these numbers. What should I do to get to the next level? How do I get to 500,000 a month? How do I get to $1 million per month? And because agencies are hard to scale, should I pivot to a SaaS business? Should I pivot to an e-commerce business to get to these levels? And so these are all different complex questions right here. And you have to turn around and ask the person, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to make 60, 70,000 a month in profit? Are you trying to make 300,000 a month in profit that you take home while your business does 500,000 a month? Or are you trying to build a long-term brand that can scale to $100 million, $200 million valuation? And this is where the person starts to get really confused. Do you want to go build a SaaS business? Or do you want to go build a Shopify business or an e-commerce business that scales to the moon? Or do you want to make money right now? Can you wait 2 years to make money? Can you wait 5 years to make money in income? Do you want to scale very fast and build a business that's very, very, very extremely valuable? Or do you want to make money as you scale up? These are all different conflicting things, because what happens in business is the more you focus on immediate cash flow, the less you're going to get a long-term brand that grows and scales and can grow quickly. So a really obvious example of this is when people are running ads. One of the reasons why people get stuck all the time when they're running ads is they start ads and they create a cash flow business. And let's say they get to 100K a month pretty quickly. Okay. And they're at like a 3x profit margin. But then what happens is they start scaling their ads. They get to 200K a month and the profit margin gets down to 2x. Okay. Maybe 1.5x. And they're saying like, well, this isn't worth it. I got the 200K a month, but I'm making way less profit margin. And what do? I'm getting stuck. And then they maybe get to like 250K a month and it's just breaking even or losing a bit of money. They're at like 0.8. And they're like, well, Alex, this weird thing is fucking happening in my ads. They're not making money anymore. So how do I go and keep the profit margins when I was at 100K a month, but make $1 million per month? And my answer to them most of the time is you fucking can't. You can't do it. Fuck you, go home. And they're very confused by this. Like, what, there isn't some secret in the ad platforms that I can use to make free money and print money on command? And the answer is no. See, what happens at this point right here, and the reason why most people get stuck as they're trying to scale up their ads, is because when you get into bigger markets or you need to get more customers in, you start getting into a mass market. Now, you need to understand, in this mass market, you're no longer operating this little minnow pool where there's little plankton that you're competing with. And basically, you're running a very unoptimized, unscalable business, but it's very profitable because it's unscalable and unoptimized, and nobody's trying to actually make that money. You have to understand a business that's doing $100 million per year isn't interested in your $1 million per year market that you're working in right there. It's not big enough for them to give any fucks right there. So you're not competing with them. But when you start getting to $3 million, $5 million per year, you suddenly start breaking into these bigger oceans where there's giant sharks swimming around. I'd actually compare them more to very patient whales. And the way they make money is, let's say they're spending $1 million a month on ads, and they'll only make, in some cases, like 100,000 back on that million they spend. You're like, how do they make money? It's because on that 100,000 back over the course of 2 years, they're going to make 2 to 3 million back. Or if they're really fucking smart, over the course of years, they're only going to make 1 million back. And you're probably confused, like, what the why is this person only caring about making 1 million back? Because what they're doing right here is different than what you're doing. See, what they're doing is they're playing this very patient game. One of the easiest ways to win in business is to be extremely, extremely, extremely fucking patient. A really good example of this is going to be if you've watched Alex Hormozi's info brand and compare it to other people's info brands. No one has ever sold $106 million in product in a day. No one has ever taken their /info/personal brand to, I'm not going to talk about their numbers they're doing, but they're doing phenomenal. No one's ever done that before. The reason why is because everybody running Tai Lopez personal brand like businesses went for cash flow. They didn't build a long-term customer retention brand like Alex did. If you notice, he made content for years before selling anything. Like, you couldn't buy anything from other than a $1 book for years. Do you want more customers from your ads cheaper? Do you want to make 15 and 20% more profit from your ads? Higher risk. So all the effort, all the money that Alex invested into it didn't come back to him until years later. Now, to put it in another perspective right here, most SaaS companies that you're dealing with, most big companies, most e-commerce brands, their objective is not making cash flow. It is growth. For example, if you see Gymshark, I think they did like $1 billion in revenue and made like $10 million profit or something like that in 1 year. Now you're probably thinking, well, Gymshark sounds like a terrible fucking business. No, it's because the thing they're focusing on is growth. Gymshark is probably valued at billions of dollars, or I don't fucking know. I don't know their exact numbers. I'm using as example right here. If you're going out there and you're running your little e-commerce store and you're trying to make a 3x profit up front on your ads, and then you're competing in the same ad space, in the same market as Gymshark, who's trying to make no money on their ads, they're fine with like a 0.01% profit margin. Who is going to be able to spend more on ads? Who's going to be able to spend more to get a customer? Who's going to have the better customer experience? Because all their money is going into the customer experience, ads, and growth of their business. All your money is going back into your pocket. You won't be able to compete. You just simply can't. That's the dumbest, most retarded thing I've ever fucking heard. How are you supposed to have, if there's 2 restaurants in the street and both businesses are making $100,000 a month, which business is going to be better? The one restaurant that is pocketing $90,000 a month or the business that is taking that $90,000 a month that the other business is profiting and putting it back into their business and then building a Stave 5 McDonald's Jungle Gym playpen and getting in a 5-star Michelin chef from France in the back? Who's going to have the better business? It's going to be restaurant number 2. They're going to shit all over it. They're going to pull down their pants and give a midnight Chipotle Arby's rager all over the other business. So you have to keep this in mind right here, because this is what most people don't understand. They say, how do I get to the next level? How do I build a Gymshark? How do I build an Alex Hormozi-like brand? How do I go and build a ClickFunnels? How do I go and build a Hyros? How do I go and build a Slack? Well, you have to set your goals. And you have to understand that sometimes going and building one of these brands, that restaurant I talked about that is making $100,000 a month and reinvesting $100,000 a month, or even worse, what actually happens is you're competing with restaurants that make $100,000 a month. They go and spend that $100,000 a month back on the business, and then they go and raise another $1 million based on that, and then they invest that $1 million back in the business. You just will not compete with them. But here's the point right here, because you're probably thinking, oh, okay, cool. So Alex is just saying, I don't get to make money ever, and I just have to like not make money and sacrifice for 10 years straight. No, What I'm saying is understand your fucking priorities. If you want to make 100, $200,000 per month profit, you need to build a very, very different business than a business that's trying to scale to $100 million valuation. If you come out the gates and you're trying to make $200,000 a month profit very quickly, the chance of you building $100 million valuation business is essentially zero. It's not going to happen because you don't have the same oomph behind your business as the businesses that are. So, for example, I have one of the larger tracking and analytics companies in this space, Hyros. It gets really good fucking results for the customers. We have literally customer support agents, one-to-one when people come on that chase you around, make sure you get success. The amount of effort and money we've invested to make sure when you sign up for this fucking thing that you get to the point where you get a result is ridiculous. The amount we've invested in the product is ridiculous. This is why I see all these tracking companies pop up all the time. They claim to be able to compete with Hyros, and they just can't, because there's one thing they're really messing up here is they're trying to make money. They're like, okay, we're going to operate at a 50% profit margin. We're trying to scale our SaaS company and compete with Hyros. No, motherfucker, I'll run fucking ads and I'll wait 3 years to make my money back. Dude, if I can throw $1 million at ads and make $3 million back over 3 years, that's fucking great. That's a better investment I can ever get investing in anything. And I'll do that. So your little tracking company where you're not investing anything back in your customer results and success and everything, it's just not going to do it, buddy. It's not going to work out. And so you can see these businesses that go and try to compete with mine, they can't by default because they don't understand the type of business that they're trying to create, which then circles back to the point I'm trying to make here. When people ask me what type of business they want to build or what they should do in their business, you have to ask yourself, what type of business do you want to build? And these are the things you need to focus on based on your priorities. Look, if you want to make 100, 200K a month, 50K a month right now, that's fine. You shouldn't feel guilty about that. It's completely fine to just want to make a lot of money and fuck off, or just focus on that right now. In fact, if you're just starting off in business, focusing on cash flow businesses probably is the better thing to do because you don't have any money. And so that limits your ability to invest in your businesses. And also, if you're building a long-term focused business, say you're building something like a Gymshark, say you're building something like a Hyros, say you're building something like a Pudgy Penguins, a Tinder, whatever the fuck you're trying to build. Say you're building a long-term business right now, you really don't want to go and take massive investments and put in massive investments in something when you have no experience in business whatsoever. So let's talk about cash flow first. If you're building a cash flow type business, what do you want? You need a business where you're able to sell something at extremely high profit margins. So here's the nuts and bolts of it. If you're trying to sell something at high profit margins, you're not going to be able to do that much R&D. So you're not going to have a unique product. In order to create a very, very unique product, you're going to need to invest a lot of time, research, and everything that goes into it, and do a lot of special things. I mean, high profit investment in something when you have no experience limits your ability to invest in your businesses. And also, if you're building a long-term focused business, say you're building something like a Gymshark, say you're building something like a Hyros, say you're building something like a Pudgy Penguins, a Tinder, whatever the fuck you're trying to build, say you're building a long-term business right now, you really don't want to go and take massive investments and put in massive investments in something when you have no experience in business whatsoever. So let's talk about cash flow first. If you're building a cash flow type business, what do you want? You need a business where you're able to sell something at extremely high profit margins. So here's the nuts and bolts of it. If you're trying to sell something at high profit margins, you're not going to be able to do that much R&D. So you're not going to have a unique product. In order to create a very, very unique product, you're going to need to invest a lot of time, research, and everything that goes into it, and do a lot of special things and invest up front. So you're not going to have a lot of R&D into it. You're not going to be able to benefit from a unique product. You're probably going to have a very easy to reproduce product. So for example, if you look at a lot of small e-commerce businesses, they sell shirts, they sell supplements, they sell things that are very easy to create, that are very similar to everything else out there. Because when you sell things that are similar to everything else out there, it means that they're easy to reproduce. The way to reproduce them has been made. There are tools and everything exists that makes it easy to do, which allows you to have high profit margins. If you look at most cash flow businesses, the best examples are agencies, or people reselling AI agents to businesses, people selling freelance work or design. Drop shipping was very popular in e-commerce, but the profit margins of that are so small these days. I don't know how that's doing. But small level e-commerce businesses where they're selling products that are very similar to other products or businesses out there. These are based on really clever, but also very easy to reproduce and copy business model. This is why course seller businesses are so popular with the lower level entrepreneurs. I'm not saying gurus and people on YouTube selling courses are low level entrepreneurs in a negative way. I'm saying if your business is in these areas, you're not dealing with a built, well-structured business. The second you stop making content, the second you stop pumping out courses, you lose all your money. That's not a good business. And a lot of the times, if you look at course businesses, you look at these e-commerce businesses, you look at these agencies, they become very hard to scale because they don't keep customers. There's two reasons for this. One, the product isn't unique. There's 1,000 other people competing with them. And so it's reproduced very easily. That means when you get to scale, it becomes hard because then you start dealing with people in that big shark category that are willing to invest tons of money that you're not willing to invest back in the business because you're making something that's so easy to reproduce and cash flow focused. They also don't keep customers. One, because the product's not unique. You have to have a unique edge to keep customers. To have a unique edge, you usually have to invest back in your business and your brand. And then two, because of the structure of the business, you really can't get that good at customer results because to get phenomenal customer results, you have to do something special that other people can't do. So what does this all mean? I'm sure if you're watching me say this right now, it seems like I'm talking down the people that build businesses like this. No, you just have to understand this is not the way you want to go. You want to go and make something that's easy to reproduce and fast and able to make money with that. So examples of this are agency businesses, courses, low-level e-commerce, very low-level SaaS, like the vibe coding where you go and make a vibe coding app and then you sell it to local businesses. Are these apps going to go and be the next $100 million, $200 billion, zillion dollar SaaS company? No, not at all. Are they capable of generating 30, 40K a month at like a 90% profit margin? 100%. The problem with those businesses, again, is once you start getting to 100, 200K a month, they're going to get replicated if they're profitable enough. Once you get into a business niche where it's able to generate enough revenue, that's when big dogs start coming in and they start fucking with your shit. So what you want to do is if you want to be a cash flow motherfucker, is you want to focus on building little cash flow businesses that make 30, 50K a month. And you want to master these little niches right there. This is why you see in low-level e-commerce, instead of having one giant brand, the e-commerce people usually have like 10 different stores that are all very cash flow focused. It's because you can't scale these type of businesses, which is fine. So if you want to get to the next level and you're focused on cash flow, you want to have lots of littler businesses, or you want to replicate a very clever model that doesn't scale, but makes its money based on being clever. So making a little vibe coding app, no, it's not going to scale because you're focusing on a little clever thing that generates 30, 50K a month, but you can make a lot of them, or you can reproduce them very quickly, or you can make them without effort and cash flow them. And so that's what you want to focus on. If you're cash flow focused, do not focus on building a long-term brand. Don't focus on making the next billion-dollar thing. Don't focus on scaling your company to the moon. Focus on the cash flow. And then focus on slowly scaling that up with the margins that you have. But understand those margins are going to get tighter the longer the business exists and the more you try to scale it up. This is fine. This is the model that you're in. Now, my suggestion to you is then use this cash flow to build one of these. And then once you build one of these, do not confuse this motherfucking thing with this motherfucking thing. Okay? Here's why. So for example, at Hyros, I'm building our next product, Hyros Air right now. It's an AI agent. You can slap it on a Shopify store. It increases sales by 2, 3, sometimes 7, 10%. It fucking works. It's actually incredible. I'm not here to pump Hyros Air to you. I'm here to describe the launching of a new product and how I'm doing it. So I could easily put Hyros Air out there, run ads, and get this business to $1 million a month super duper incredibly quickly at a pretty damn high profit margin. But here's the thing. The business would be short term and it would suck ass because we haven't taken the time to perfect and master the product. And then what's going to happen if I do that, someone else will go replicate the product very, very quickly and then do it at no profit margin and go snuff it out because they will have the better product. Instead, what I am doing at Hyros Air right now is we're slowly launching it, getting customers in, and I'm making sure we have a funnel right here that makes it so when the customer comes in for free, they get all the way to the point where they get a result and become a customer for life. And I want to see this happen with near 90% consistency. So when Dropbox originally started, you remember Dropbox, you probably used it back in the 2010s. About 5% of the people that joined Dropbox actually ended up using Dropbox and sticking with the product. If you remember back then, it was one of the most viral sticky products of all time. So that might be surprising to you. What did Dropbox do? They didn't make any money for literally forever. Like forever, they didn't make any money at all, because of that 5% thing right there. And they kept raising money and working on the product, raising money, working the product, building the brand. And eventually they got their success rate to 90%. And then they started scaling the product, and then they started scaling it out. And as soon as they made money doing that, they took all that money, reinvested it, and then raised tons of money at a huge valuation. So they basically not only kept not making money, they didn't raise money and then used all that money while still not making money to grow the product. And so what did they focus on? Instead of making money in the business, what they focused on was getting first the product absolutely perfect. You can't do this if you're trying to build a cash flow business. You can't just sit and work on the product and have people come into your funnels and analyze every tiny little thing they do and perfect it and then push the product. You don't have time to do that. You also don't have time as you're doing this to reinvest every dollar you make back into the product and then use that as an example to go back and raise money. Now, I don't have to raise money for my businesses because I've built a lot of profitable businesses and I have a lot of money to invest. That's a benefit I have from originally being good at making cash flow businesses. I made all sorts of little micro SaaSes. I sold courses. I had SEO outsourcing services, basically an agency, but it was an automated agency. I did all those things. None of those businesses could really scale past 100K a month, but I had like 5 or 6 of them, all pumping out 50 to 100,000 a month. That's where a lot of the cash flow came from that originally started Hyros. So I did this thing right here and I focused on this thing, and then I built the long-term brand Hyros. But you don't have the luxury of doing this thing that Dropbox did right here. But you have to think on yourself. A lot of people, they go and build companies that are SaaS companies, like, how do I get to the next level? Well, here's how Dropbox got to the next level. They spent so much time making sure every customer that came to the door with almost 100% ratio came through, got the product, went all the way through the product. This took them a year, 2 years to get perfect, got to the product, and then got to that result, which was very good. And then every dollar that came from that result they did, they reinvested in making the product and scaling it larger. That resulted in a company that at this point is worth $8 billion. So the person that did this made a lot more fucking money than the person that made this. But if you're a person that is trying to generate cash flow, you're not going to be able to do that. And so people ask me, well, how do I get to the next level of my SaaS business or the thing I'm going to do this? I say, you're going to need to take time and make sure every single customer that comes in gets a result. Every single customer is happy. And that's going to take a lot of time of not launching the product. For example, if I took Hyros Air right now and sent it out to my entire email list, I let in everybody I knew. I ran ads. I was pumping it on this YouTube channel. I was talking about it, blowing up some of that. It would be like every other SaaS business you ever see these influencers launch online. Have you ever noticed that any of like the gurus on YouTube, they launch SaaS and software companies and none of them ever go anywhere? It's because they overload them with shit tons of customers to cash flow them very quickly. And then 90% of the customers do not stay. The only way your brand and you're going to become a billionaire or 100 millionaire or 50 millionaire or whatever, you get to these points is you have to get customers in and they have to stay for a really long fucking time. And they have to continue to buy from you for a very long fucking time. What does this take? Making a product that's unique and has a huge edge. Huge amounts of R&D behind it, really special people working at your company, a brand that people love interacting with, and a very optimized, very high effort process that you put years into of getting the customer to buy the first product, use the product, and then stay forever. This takes a very long time and it's not very profitable up front, but it builds massive assets that grow. And so the thing I focus on when I'm making money is this first. If I were to get 10,000 customers in Hyros Air tomorrow, but 90%, 70% of them didn't get to the end result, guess what? The business is a failure. It doesn't work. There's no point in me even making a single dollar or keeping a single dollar there if I'm trying to become a billionaire, which is what I'm trying to do with my businesses. And the way I'm trying to become a billionaire is not by taking money out of this pot right here and stacking it up like a little goblin. I'm trying to build an asset similar to Dropbox that is Doing that is very different than going and making cash flow right here. So again, when people ask me, how do I take my SaaS or agency to the next level? You got to focus on growing the asset. This means not cash flowing it. A lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to go and spend $100 on ads and then make their money back 2 years later. They don't want to run a business that runs at zero profit margin. And so what they try to do is they try to turn their agency or their e-commerce store into a long-term brand while still cash flowing it. And it's like we talked about early in the video. We have a fucking cow over here, fucking a monkey, and you end up with this weird hybrid mutant thing that doesn't keep customers, but also doesn't make maximum amounts of money. And so this is where people fuck up. You need to ask yourself in your business, where you're at right now, where do you want to go? Do you want to be worth 100, $200 million? Great. You need to be doing this shit over here. You need to stop trying to cash flow like a fucking child and realize you don't get paid like an NBA player. You're an entrepreneur. You grow assets. You don't grow income streams. That's silly. Yes, there are people out there to do that and have cash flow profitable businesses. And there's examples like this out there. For example, OnlyFans or Tether or Pump.Fun. Absolutely shit money. Absolutely shit money. These are weird examples, and you really have to go and build something very quickly that nobody else sees and it blows up. Can you do that? Yeah, sure you can. Sure you can. But it's the massive value of OnlyFans also comes from its massive valuation as well. So you've got to keep that in mind. And the way to consistently go out there and build huge things is to just do this. And if you look at really smart entrepreneurs, like any of them out there, any of the huge tech entrepreneurs, any of the big tech founders, the ones that have billion-dollar valuations, they never made any income at all during the entire time. But what they did is they grew their asset value. And trust me, when your asset value is $100, $200 million, all you need, if you ever need money, is you just borrow money against it. It's not a problem for Mark Zuckerberg to go and borrow $50, $100 million to buy a yacht and then slowly pay it off at low rates from the little profit that the business makes. That's how they work, and that's how you need to focus on building. So ask yourself, what do you want to do? If you want to cash flow, focus on cash flow. Keep building little micro businesses. Keep building more kind of short-term businesses. Understand you're not going to have, and you should be focusing on these things over here. Or if you want to reach the high levels, you need to focus on building a business like this. And this is how you go and make a lot of money. You don't want to cross the wires between these things. And this is why this question I get all the time, what should I do with my business? How do I get to the next level? Is weird because you have people trying to build a monkey and a cow at the same time and creating this mutant hybrid thing that doesn't cash flow, which is their objective at the time, but also doesn't grow as a long-term brand either. Do one or the other, one at a time, or focus on one business that cash flows that funds the other business. This is the way to properly grow, and this is going to make everything way easier for you because you're not trying to do two conflicting things at the same time, and it's going to make you a lot more successful. So that's the video. If you want actual videos on business lessons, running ads, sales, strategy on how I actually grow my businesses, I release all the courses that I used to make on copywriting, ads, everything. It's like $20,000 worth of courses. I give it away for free in my community tab, only to subscribers. You will only see the post if you subscribe. I post it once a month. I keep it up for a day. I take it down. If you want to see that, you need to be subscribed below. Also, you can see the food I'm eating and pictures of me doing things on Instagram at 4 a.m. Becker. You should follow me there because it's sweet. And here's some other videos on how to build your business. For example, there's a video on this channel from getting to 0 to 100K a year, 100K a year to $1 million a year, and $1 million to $10 million per year. They're all on this channel. It's all for free because I'm already rich and I don't need to sell you any courses. So, all right, bye.
Did you know there are most trades business owners get their $105 hourly rate from the performer method, which stands for pull the figures out of my ass. You're pricing jobs based on gut. All right, David, what's your story? I was
working from my parents' house in the bedroom day and night. I had no money, and it was time to make it or break it.
This is David Park. And for years, he tried everything to make money.
I started my first company when I was 16. I'm 27 now. That's a decade of failing.
Then, one day, he came across an idea that would change his life forever. But at the beginning, things weren't looking so bright.
I cold called every single agency for 8 hours a day for weeks and weeks and weeks. They hang up on you, reject you, literally probably 99% of the time.
But when everything was at its worst, David experienced a miracle.
Suddenly, we get a huge wave of users. And we're getting to 50, 60, 80,000 MRR. Then I got a cancer diagnosis, and it felt like my dreams and nightmares were happening at the same time.
This is the story of how David Park built an AI app to a $25 million valuation in just 2 years. I'm Pat Walls, and this is Starter Story. David grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. And even though they never had a lot of money, he still had a dream that he could be one too.
When I was in 7th grade, I thought, man, it'd be so cool if I'm a founder, and it'd be so cool if I can build stuff. And so when I was 16, I actually made my first company. It was like a clothing brand. Obviously, it failed spectacularly.
David experienced his first failure early on. And like all protective parents, they sacrificed everything they had to send him off to a college in hopes for a better life.
My parents gave me $20,000 and said, you go to college, you're going to have a better life than us. You're going to go be a lawyer, doctor. The sad thing is I kind of felt like I didn't really fit in anywhere. I didn't really fit in my fraternity. I didn't really fit in with the people in my major. I was always surrounded by people, but I always felt like a little bit lonely, which is kind of sad.
David was facing a dilemma. He was an entrepreneur at heart, but he was trapped in an environment that didn't make him happy. So he made a huge decision. He decided to drop out and chase his dreams of starting a startup. And luckily, along the way, he meets someone just as weird and passionate as him, his eventual business partner and co-founder, Henry.
He loved AI, I loved writing. We always try to find some way to make it work. The sum total of failed startups that we did together was probably 9 or 10, which is pretty nuts. Eventually, we stumbled upon GPT-2. We asked it to tell us a story. GPT-2 spit out this line that said, "Nothing is darker than a butthole." And obviously, as two people enamored with this tech, we were raving. We're like, this is the funniest line ever. Also, it's profound. That butthole sentence convinced us two buttholes to create Jenny.
All right, so this is a quick product video for Jenny.
The boys had found their idea, and now the business was in motion. Henry would do the coding, and David would do the selling. Their goal was simple: create a product to help agencies write better content with the help of AI. And their next goal was to make their first $1.
That was like a terrible, painful time of cold calls. Obviously, nobody wants to talk with you. They hang up on you, reject you. You have to get used to getting rejected. So I was working from my parents' house, just in the bedroom. It was pretty sad. My mom, she would wake up and then she'd hear me just raving to some poor soul about why they need to invest in us or they need to buy us. And then before she'd go to sleep, she'd still hear me kind of speaking to some other poor fellow. So I was pretty much just working day and night. The worst part was Korean moms will just get together and just talk about their kids, their trading cards. My kid is now a level 2 Amazon engineer. My kid is now doing their master's at Stanford. And then it would get to my mom's turn and she would just say, oh, my son is working on a startup. The most humiliating thing was I had to ask my mom for her card if I wanted to get Chipotle because I just had no money. I was a real loser, but my parents were so kind to me. They never made me feel like a loser. They would always give me food, and they'd never make me feel bad about they never so they never make me feel bad about anything. They just always there was always just food on the table. On days that I didn't believe in myself, I felt like my parents believed in me. My co-founder would believe in me. My friends obviously believed in me. So it was painful, but I guess I'm glad that I went through them, yeah.
Number one thing about real estate is you got to get busy learning, what am I looking for? What am I trying to buy?
In 2020, GPT-3 came out. David is getting some traction thanks to a wave of businesses wanting to get their hands on AI. They're getting users, but eventually they hit a plateau. They try everything, but they can't get past $2,000 a month in revenue. Then David learns and implements something that would change his business forever.
It really came down to the boring stuff of just talk to your users, ask them more difficult questions. You shouldn't be asking, why do you like my product? You should be asking, why do you dislike my product? What do you love about other people's products? The focal point of, I feel like many founders when they talk to users is like, they make it about themselves and their product, when it should really be about the users. Tell me about your current workflow. How does Jenny fit into it? What exactly do you do with Jenny? Or like, can you share your screen and can we write an article together? These insights are really important. We realized that people wanted to have a friendly AI-assisted writing journey. And so when we pulled out everything, that was when we really started to grow.
After months of talking to customers and refining the product, they started to find a new audience for Jenny. But at this point, David basically has $0 left in his bank account. He's exhausted all of his options, but he decides to try one more thing. He agrees to go on a random podcast to talk about his startup journey.
It doesn't have that many listeners, but luckily, one scout for Jason Calacanis happened to listen to the podcast. The craziest miracle ever, because it was not viewed by many people. And so I got a $100,000 check from Jason. Like I said, I was living off Shin Ramen and whatever my parents put out on the dinner table. So $100,000 was so crazy. The first thing we do is my co-founder and I, we book a flight to Malaysia because at the very least, it'll cut down our burn by 1/4. We basically just want to extend our runway because we kind of didn't trust ourselves with the money. It was a crazy moment getting the check, but I didn't feel successful at all because now the real job of getting my hands dirty was actually getting started. I kind of raved earlier about how much I love my family, but I was alone by myself. It was very productive, but it was very lonely. It was tough. It was character building, I would say. I had a $100K check. I was completely by myself. It was time to make it or break it.
Now, the real dirty work had begun. With a bit of funding and a tiny runway, David and his co-founder spent the next several months iterating and building Jenny into a completely new product, talking to customers, documenting the progress, and trying just about anything to increase revenue. Then, one night, something incredible happens.
Suddenly, we get a huge wave of users. Every minute I refresh the page, I think we would get tens of new users every minute that I refresh the page. A guy named Zain Khan posted a Twitter thread that became one of the most viral Twitter threads in history, and we were actually included in that thread. From there, we went from 2,000 to 10,000 MRR in 1 month. That's when I felt the first semblance of success.
Jenny AI was growing at a rapid pace, and David felt like he was on top of the world. But there was still a problem. Virality comes and goes. It's not something David could rely on to build a great business.
So the very next thing I want to do is kind of figure that out for ourselves. I brought on one of my college buddies actually to help us with TikTok and Instagram Reels, all that jazz. And then we experienced our second wave of virality. We understood the power of social media. We continued to kind of push on with viral marketing. And we're getting to 50, 60, 80,000 MRR. Now it was kind of happening where I think at that point we were close to 1 million a year. From where we started, that was so crazy to us. And I felt like, man, we could push this so much further. We could go so much farther. But then I got a cancer diagnosis and it felt like my dreams and nightmares were happening at the same time. The most worrying thing for me though is that it would put me out of commission and there was a chance that my voice would be damaged. I remember the surgery, because of the fever, they had to reschedule me, which made my sleep deprivation, food deprivation, all that even worse. It prolonged my pain more. But one thing that helped was my mom told me that there's something I'll tell you before your surgery, and don't worry, it's going to give you all the strength you need. You're not even going to be nervous. Everything's going to be fine. And then so for some reason, my mom went to the bathroom or something while I was taking a nap, and the nurses run in and they're like, because of your fever complication, we have to do surgery right now. I don't even speak Korean to be signing documents. Can we wait for my mom? And then they're like, we just got to run it now. And I was honestly thinking about man, I got a crazy startup right now. I can just bolt out of here. Thyroid cancer is kind of slow. It's not the craziest risk I could take. But I remember